Okay, so we should be live streaming now. Should be coming through. Yes, we are back again. Another live stream, more Dungeon Master preparation for those of you who wanted more of it. You're getting more of it. And of course, it will be a weekly thing. I'm not necessarily going to be doing it at the rate that I have been doing it recently, but we will continue to do Dungeon Master preparation where we will make something, cover a topic. Hi, still alive. How's it going? I'm going to be posting up a poll. You do not need to answer the poll. You don't need to answer the poll straight away. You can take your time. That's all fine. My intention with all of this is I'm going to give you a presentation. I'm going to open up to questions and answers or Q&A and for you to give feedback. But I want to get straight into actually making a world. We're going to do that as part of the second half of this 2-hour tutorial. Or an hour and a half. That's what I would like to have, an hour and a half. But I'm not guaranteed that's going to happen, right? That's kind of asking a lot. And I'm covering a lot of elements of world building, so that means there's actually quite a lot of stuff to cover. So slideshow, Q&A, followed by we make a world, and we'll do that today. So I will get into this as quickly as I can. Just line it up. Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and roleplay games. Like, we're really doing the Dungeon Master work. This is all about Dungeon Master preparation. This is lesson 8. This is my final lesson that I have put together for Dungeon Master preparation, and we are going to be covering world building, like building a world. This is one of the most daunting aspects of any kind of roleplay game or Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or anything like that, is like making your own world, because often people view the idea of making a world as you have to make everything all at once before you can start. And if you do it that way, the chances are you will never get started. So the idea behind this is to get you started. Otherwise, what was the point? So my overview for today, what are we starting with? So sources of world building, some ideas. So how do you do it? Where can you get your ideas from? And this is what we're going to cover. Mapping the world, I'm going to be talking a bit about that. And then naming the world and continents, some strategies around doing that. World creation story. Now, the world creation story isn't necessarily spelled out in a lot of roleplay games or Dungeon Master guides, but we're going to be covering it, primarily because it will help you concrete everything in. Choosing your gods and goddesses or your deities, developing world locations and your governments. You might have more than one government, you probably will if it's a world. Determining world magic and determining the type of technology that the world has. It may be different wherever you go, but we'll go into that. Creating races and then determining what monsters or the monster populations in your world and where they might be. And then, of course, I have always a miscellaneous recommendations that I will cover, and that's to make sure that you're on the right page with regard to trying to get this done. Like, have I presented too much information, and do I need to sort of make it easier for you in some way? And this is essentially what that last little bit is always about. Now, the objective is to explain how to build and create a world for a roleplay game or Dungeons and Dragons, to demonstrate, so there will be a practical element. I can't pull people into the live stream yet, but I'm hoping that will be possible in the future, and when it is, I'll be very happy. One of the things I will say is there are some very limited tools on D&D Beyond. You'll find that they have a combat encounter builder for Dungeons & Dragons 5e. It's available, it's free. It's really not enough, but we do have a virtual tabletop, a three-dimensional virtual tabletop that is coming to D&D Beyond. And when that's available, then of course I will be directing you in the direction of that particular asset. Not that that's the only asset you want to consider, because not everybody uses a virtual tabletop. But we'll be talking about different stuff as we go. Okay, let's get into the main crux of things. The sources of world building. Like, where do you get these different ideas from? Where can you pull them from? And I'm going to go back to what I've always found the most useful, and that is Build your world based off your personal experience. Anything that you have experienced or seen or come across in the past is something that you can utilize. Now, I know some people will talk about being culturally sensitive, but when you are doing this, you are not trying to offend somebody. You are simply taking it on board to put it into your world because you like the idea. Okay? It is not a depiction, it's not an attempt to downplay somebody else's cultural heritage in any way. So I always pull from personal experience and what I've been exposed to. Modifying history for fantasy and science fiction. Now, if you take a fantasy world or a science fiction world, or even history, and you can take some of the historical ones that have been put out there, and you can modify them for your own needs. Stealing from popular culture, like Middle Earth, Oz, which is like the Wizard of Oz, Narnia, any of those would be fine. And then this is something that you, as a dungeon master, have to feel comfortable with, but I would recommend that you consider it, and that is allowing player input as you play the game. Now, that means that when you start off with backstories from a character, you can start using and integrating that into your world straight away, before you even get started, provided they give you the background story for their character early enough to be able to do that. And even if they don't, you can pull stuff directly out of their backstory fairly quickly without a lot of preparation anyway. So those are the sources of world building that I generally fall on, and I recommend giving them a try because I think you'll find them quite helpful to you. Mapping the world. This is a big headache for a lot of people who don't really like drawing and struggle with drawing anything up, which I totally understand. Drawing the world for a roleplay game or a Dungeons & Dragons campaign can be achieved a few different ways. You can use simple scribbles on a page, use a piece of paper and a pen, and away you go, you're done. This is commonly a strategy that I use myself, where I just grab a piece of paper and I just draw with a pen a couple of wiggly lines or blobs, and those are my continents. You can use software. There's lots of different software packages out there, and I will include a list of resources that I would suggest you have a look at as part of the Patreon document. And then, of course, there's detailed landscape maps that you can create, and that's like requires a high level of skill, which, of course, you might not necessarily have, but there's also random generators where you don't have to do any real work. You plug in some basic data and it pops out a world map, and then you just have to stick a name on it and you're away. So there's a couple of different ways you can deal with mapping your world and getting it done. The next big headache is always going to be, well, we've got to give it a name. Naming the world. You'd think it'd be easier, like it's just a name, right? But often it's actually very hard to nail down the name of your world and feel comfortable with it. And I think that's probably because a lot of people assume that the world that they build is the only world they will ever make, and that once they've selected their name, that they are stuck with it. And in fact, you're not necessarily stuck with just that name or that world name. So what is the name of the world? What are the names of the continents? Of course, even the names of locations will come up, but that's a sort of another aspect of it. But essentially, it's the world name and the continent's name, right? Do worlds and continents need names? Like, do you actually need to name them? Now, you have actually been exposed to so many different forms of world names and continent names through history and pop culture, you should be able to draw from that and use that, and I would suggest you do so. You can do this during your game session. You don't actually need to do this as game preparation. A lot of these techniques are designed so you can do them on the fly as you go. Ask the players what the name of the world is. If you have a map and you put it in front of them and say, what's the name of it? They might actually give you a name that's suitable. You don't have to use it, but it certainly will allow you to bring them into the process of being creative and making things. Some players hate that, and some players love that sort of thing. Okay. The same world can have multiple names or many names across different civilizations. So just because you give the world one name, it might actually have another name somewhere else. So you don't need to be concerned about having a name that you don't necessarily like, because your world might have more than one name. I mean, if we look at something like Earth, like that's very creative, isn't it? You know, the planet Earth. You could have called it the planet Dirt, or you could have called it the blue green ball. I mean, really, there's not a you could get the green globe. I mean, essentially the blue globe. It doesn't really matter, and a lot of people actually have different names for Earth. So you can do the same sort of thing in your role play game. Well, there are world name generators also that can help you work out all that sort of stuff. And you just need to plug in your details, and you'll find that most of those are attached to the random generators for world creation. Now, something that I think was interesting is world creation stories. A lot of people don't necessarily go into this level of detail, which is fine. You don't have to. That's up to you. But I'm going to cover some of the different world creation stories there are, because there's only so many. So all you really need to do is pick from them and decide which one you like the most, right? So the first one I would say is, what is the world creation story? We're going to answer that question, and then you select something. No one really knows is a good answer. Like, no one really knows how the world was created. But there are theories. You know, people might have a theory. There might be myths. There might be legends that anyone can make up. Like any of the player characters, their characters could all have a different myth or legend for how the world was created, not just the dungeon master. So you as the dungeon master don't need to do that. You could say, how do you think, and how does your character think the world was created? And they can make something up, and you can jot that down. And that's just one of the many different world creation stories that exist in your world now. And any player who doesn't want to do this, that's fine, but you capitalize on the people who do want to be engaged in that sort of thing. The world is created by a supreme being, one of the most common world creation stories. Like this is, an example is God creating Earth in Christianity, and there's others. The world emerging over a long period of time as a metamorphosis, oh my gosh, that occurs. So the world emerging would be, an example here is your Darwin and evolution. Our current theory of evolution would be this world emerging concept, but you can have it span many different other aspects. It might not even be around just random selection. There might be something else that's going on. There may be some order to all things. So a lot of chaos theory does suggest that things aren't occurring randomly, that there is a pattern to things, even if we don't know exactly what that pattern is and why that pattern exists. There are two primal beings, super beings, usually the mother and the father, and they birth the world. They come together and they birth the world. This is another creation story that is utilized throughout different cultures. The world hatches from a cosmic egg laid by a deity. So yes, this is the chicken and the egg, the chicken being the supreme deity, or the deity who hatches out the world, and the egg is sort of the seed, basically. You have the two companion gods that are represented by good and evil. And that story of the companion gods that are represented as good and evil, that combined, what you have is evil diving into a water source to pull out the world and bring it into existence. And for whatever reason, evil doing this was working against the good God in some way. And so, of course, then you have the plague of whatever it is that's occurring on your world. And it's all responsible, that evil is responsible for creating this problem, and also for actually bringing everybody into existence. And then, of course, there's that clash. So the dual God concept. And then you have gods transformed the corpse of a dead giant into the world. There's another one here. And that is like, think of something like Greek mythology. It might be a good example, but there are others. And you have multiple gods, and what they do is they actually take the corpse of another god or a giant or some sort of being, and they meld it into the world that currently exists. So there's a lot of different ways that you can build your world and have it sort of make sense to everybody. So that's a lot of information to have to try and contend with to start off with. I just need a quick drink. I'm hoping the creation stories are really going to help people. All right, where are we? Here we go. Since we were talking about creation stories, let's now talk about gods, because of course you're going to need them. So who are the gods in your world? I would suggest ask the players, like, what is your character, who is your character worshipping? What is the name of the god? Is it a god? Is it a goddess? Does it have no gender? Is it a dragon? Whatever, and what does that god or goddess or deity represent? Like, what are they, what are they attached to in some way? What is their nature? Get the players to do that. They love doing that sort of thing. Not all players, but look, honestly, I think you will find if you've got somebody playing a cleric or a paladin, they'll be right on board for that sort of thing. You pull that idea and you put it into your game. You actually know tons of gods from history, mythology, and folklore that you can select. You don't even have to pull them directly and just take them whole and pluck them in and plump them in. One of the easiest ways to deal with a god and naming a god is take an existing god and reverse the name, but keep everything else, essentially. And it essentially looks like a completely new god, but all you did was reverse the name. Yep. Steal from fantasy, steal from science fiction, steal from Dungeons and Dragons lore. So just pick something. And as I said, slight adjustments or reversing the names is a very easy way of dealing with a lot of this. So if you go to page 293 to 299 of the Player's Handbook for Dungeons and Dragons 5e, you'll find a list of gods and deities that you can pluck from. And I recommend this as a resource for you when you're coming to this point in your creation process. World locations. Now, for those of you who are thinking, I can't possibly build every single location in the world, well, no, you're not going to build every single location in the world. You are going to do just enough to get the job done. So what locations, what settlements and cities does the world have? There's many places around the world, in the real world particularly, that you have actually seen, and you can poach ideas again and adjust them for your group that you're playing with. The Dungeon Master Guide for Dungeons and Dragons 5e actually offers a wealth of ideas for locations. Even though I do dump on it quite a lot, it does have some really nice stuff. And if you look at page 99, page 109, pages 112 to 114, and then there's pages 292 to 295. The Dungeon Master Guide for 5e has a lot of information that you can pull from right there. What is the starting location for the world? Like, this is often like a town or a village. It may be you're starting in a city, so you have to determine sort of where you're starting from. My suggestion to you is one of the easiest ways to deal with that is, where did the player characters come from? They've probably decided that they came from a village or a town or something like that. They may well have given it a name. They may ask you what the name of the village or towns are and try to pick one from your world, but no, you just say, tell me what you think the name of that village or town is. And then you just use that. It's as simple as that. It's easy peasy. What about using your own hometown? Like, if you have a town, a village, a city that you live in, you can use that and modify the name. And you just port it into your adventure. So some very easy ways of dealing with this is calling on a lot of what you already knew or know right now. Now, there is a lot to be said when it comes to governments. That's a complicated thing, because in a world you might find that the government is different depending on where you are. Who or what is the government and power in the world? It's one of the big questions that you have to answer, right? But you actually deal with government every day of your life. You have to deal with some sort of government, and you actually know quite a lot about this. So this shouldn't be hard for you to figure out. If you don't know about different types of civilizations, you must have been living under a rock, frankly, or been a hermit for a very long time.
But I would recommend checking out the Dungeon Master Guide for 5e, and you'll find on page 19 through to page 18 through to 19, you'll find a list of quite an extensive list of different governments. The thing I would say is a lot of them are actually duplications. They are essentially the same, but they just called something else. Okay, so what I've done is I've given you a breakdown of some very basic structures that you can pick from, and then you just go from there. Anything else that you come across is usually just a modification or a name change of the same thing I'm talking about right now. So a monarchy is ruled by a single sovereign leader, maybe male, maybe female, whatever, and they actually are limited by law. There are laws, they may have been determined by the monarchy, but they are designed to serve the citizens or the peasantry. And if they don't, then the peasantry rise up and kill the sovereign and replace them with somebody else, which is something that sovereigns don't like. But that's your monarchy, that's your king and your queen. The next one is a democracy. It is ruled by an elected representative or representatives of that civilization. So citizens actually bring in their representative by voting. You know about this. Most of you have heard of this, right? The oligarchy. I think it's oligarchy. Yep, oligarchy is a government formed by a few people or a few families. It's very sort of tight and it's quite restrictive, but it can be formed in that way. It is very akin to a tyrannical ruling or what would we say? You might even say it's certainly similar to a monarchy in some respects, but yes, it's something like that. But it's not quite as clear cut as a monarchy. Authoritarianism. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have struggle with these today. Sorry about that. It's basically this structure is opposed to individual freedom of thought and action by a central leader. So that is your dictatorship, essentially, right? The easiest way to understand that is a dictatorship. Theocracy, I think, yeah, that's right. It's ruling by a church or churches or priests or temples, usually agents of a deity. So the whole society is ruled by the underlying religious belief of that time in that place. So those are essentially the basics of your government, and you just pick from those. And of course you can make slight adjustments, but they're all pretty much the same. World races. Like determining those world races. What are the races in the world? Players' characters haven't encountered all the races yet, so you don't have to determine all of them. You just need to get some of them, right? Pick a few that you know from fantasy fiction that you like and add the rest later. Like, you do not need to do all of the homework straight away. You just need to do some of the homework. Modify real-world animals to create fantasy races. If you're wanting to make something new, and I know for some people that's sort of like, no, that's not where I want to go, that's fine, don't do that. But one of the easiest ways to create a new race is to use a real-world animal and stick it on 2 legs, and you have a new race. Very, very simple. Select a handful of races from the player's handbook. So for Dungeons & Dragons 5e, the player's handbook, if you look at pages 18 through to 43, there is a selection of races there. And my suggestion is just pick, say, 5, like a handful from there, and the rest leave out. And they just don't exist, or they haven't been encountered at this particular time. And that's what we work with. And actually what that does is it makes it easy for you to say to players, these are the options in this world. Now, I know what somebody's going to be saying. There's like, well, but what if the players want to use every option there is? Well, that's a discussion that you have in session 0. And that's not really about world building. That's about, this is what is the predominant races in my world, and anything else is up for negotiation, or it's not up for negotiation, because you are the one who has to run the world. The players still have to like it. You do not need to create a world, even though I personally like the idea of having many races. You do not need to include every single published race that Wizards of the Coast, Paizo, or anybody else has pumped out. Okay, it is all right to restrict them or to limit them because, they don't necessarily exist there or they haven't been encountered yet. We're going to have to talk about magic, because if you're dealing with a fantasy world, magic comes up like a lot. And trying to figure out how magic works in your world can seem daunting, but it's actually not daunting. Does the world actually have magic? First off, you can run a fantasy world and it doesn't actually have magic in it. How does that magic work? My most common response to this, and people have probably heard me say this before, is that really this question cracks me up, because magic is mysterious and amazing. Like, that's it. Magic is magic. It's mysterious. It's amazing. We don't need to answer all the reasons and how it all works, because magic is magic. Now, you can turn to page 23 and look through to 24 of the Dungeon Master Guide, and it talks a little bit about magic in your world. You just need to decide, is there high magic? Is there low magic? Are there magic shops? That's going to be one of the big questions your players are going to ask, so you probably need to decide whether you want to have them. If you do have magic shops, what do they look like? Can you get anything, or are there limitations? Is magic connected to technology? Sometimes magic won't be connected to technology, but sometimes it will. Eberron's a good example of it being connected. Can the dead be brought back to life? Like, is there magic that allows you to do that? You may have that, you may not. Is transportation achieved by teleportation? In other words, is there teleportation possible in this world? Are there schools of magic? And what are they? You don't have to adopt all of the pre-existing Dungeons and Dragons schools of magic. What are the restrictions to magic in the world? Are there any restrictions? These are all questions that you ask yourself. You do not need to answer all of them. The only thing you need to do when you're starting out with trying to figure out how magic works is, do you have magic in your world or do you not have magic in your world? And if you do, is it high magic or low magic? And do you have magic shops? And that's essentially the only thing you really need to deal with straight away, because everything else we can deal with later on, because that's actually building on things. You may not have all the answers straight away, so we only need to deal with that stuff to begin with. It's things that you can actually answer while you're playing the game again, as I've said before. Now, I did talk briefly and mention technology, and technology is an aspect of any world, and so let's discuss what we would do with technology. What technology does the world have? Like, this is one of the questions that you're going to answer. So I'm going to say, come on, people, get it together. You know about different types of technology from your life experience and your schooling. You went to school, right? You probably went to school. You don't have to have liked being at school, but you are inundated with technology right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a list of different types of technology. And what you do is you pick the technology that you like and you say, yes, that exists in my world. Or you say, no, that's not part of my world. I'm not going to include it. So starting sort of from the least advanced to the more advanced, we're going to start with windmills or wind power. Okay, so mechanical movement or mechanisms actually create power or do something. They create an action. You create a mechanism that is powered by wind. It's one of the most basic forms of technology that exists. So you'll find that most worlds have this. Then there's steam-powered engines. Like, you have a boiler, you heat water, it creates pressure, and then you release it. Okay, but it powers a motor or mechanism in some way. So steam-powered engines. Burning fossil fuels. So the burning of fossils to power a machine, you know about this. You can burn wood, coal, oil, natural gas, whatever you like. It doesn't matter. But we're burning fossil fuels and you power a machine and it generates energy. Another one is solar power. Okay, and you have an energy capture system that allows you to use that power from the sun later on. Electrical energy generation that is stored for later on. Now, that electrical generation might be created by winds. It might be created by hydro power. So, in other words, water moving through a mechanism that actually causes something to rotate, generating that electrical current. We know about this. You know about this. And then, of course, stored radiation from atomic energy would be another. Those are really your technologies. Like, if you can look at those and decide, okay, now I know what I want and what I don't want based on those. So I did sit down and break down technology for you, so it was reasonably easy to figure out. I'm all about monsters. But before I talk about monsters, I'm going to have a drink. Okay. Monsters. For me, you can't have a fantasy world without monsters. But we still need to answer the question, what monsters are in your world? And I'm assuming you will have some sort of monster. Even if they're not classified as a monster and you decide you want to call them a creature, that's fine. I don't care. Should anybody worry about that? Not really. So you decide what sort of monsters or creatures are in your world. Everyone will find out as the campaign is played, including the Dungeon Master. Like, you don't have to have that nailed down. My suggestion to you when you're deciding on what monster populations you have in your world is just select a few creatures from the monster book that you have. It doesn't matter what game you're playing, just pick up the monster book and look at them and say, okay, these are the ones that you'll come across the most, and these are more likely to show up in my world when my players explore it, because that's what I would like them to have in that world. And it's as simple as that. Pick 5, pick 6. It doesn't really matter. Just pick a few. You don't have to pick all of them. You don't have to say everything in the monster manual or in every monster book put out by Wizards of the Coast and Paizo will exist. Because the fun thing about monsters is making it a surprise. And if the players aren't actually sure what type of monsters they will come across or creatures they will come across, that's actually much more interesting and exciting. Take inspiration from movie monsters. Like, if you watch movies and you'll see monsters in there, use them to populate your world. You don't have to have a lot of them. Maybe there's just one. Like, there's only one Godzilla, right? There's only one Tarrasque. Or maybe they have a whole nation of them. Maybe there's a whole civilization revolving around this particular creature. Books of fiction and novels that fuel the imagination. Look, I find books and fiction, because I've done a lot of reading, really help in terms of monster creation, and I steal a lot of ideas from other people who have created some very cool stuff. Drawing from real-world biology. So you can use creatures and animals from real-world biology and even archaeology to create monster concepts. A lot of things that have existed in the world in the past that are now gone, this is your dinosaur. Like, if you want to have dinosaurs in your world, you can. You use all of the information around archaeology and what they currently think their biology is like, and you incorporate it into what you want. So that's your monsters. So I have to say that I could have gone on like forever in terms of the different things that you need or might want in world building. But actually, this is where we need to stop, because that's really all we need to do to start with. For those of you who are thinking, that's not enough, what about non-player characters? No, that's a different aspect, okay? Yes, you will have to create non-player characters at some point, but they don't necessarily need to be part of the world building process. Non-player characters are often the process of writing an adventure, which is different to doing your world building. So that'll be very specific to your adventures. Okay, they may keep coming up, but that's different. Somebody else is probably saying, well, what about treasure? Again, talking about treasure in your world, you don't need to do that. That's something that comes in terms of putting your adventures together, which is a different aspect of it. We don't need to talk about the world threats. We could talk about world threats, but you actually know enough about world threats. If you can poach from everywhere, with regard to world threats. So my miscellaneous recommendations for you is just make some sort of world quickly and get it started, okay? Otherwise, it never happens. Or I've heard of people who will spend 6 months, 12 months, 8 months creating a world and they never actually get to use it, or they suddenly discover that the players don't actually like the world they've created, and so they have to sort of like, what do I do now? Like, do I start again? Or do I just go and use a pre-made adventure because apparently everybody likes the Forgotten Realms, okay? What is the plot of the campaign? No, that's not the answer and a question you should be asking yourself with regard to world building. That is a question for the adventure. And the plot of your campaign is a series of adventures linked together. That's not the world building stuff, okay? When you're doing your world building, this is not a novel, it's not a movie. Whatever you do in terms of bringing in plot, again, that's adventure building, and that's something you'll let unfold as the players play your game. That's my advice to you. A totally different aspect. We will talk about building adventures in the future, and probably not too far away from the near future. No one needs to know the truth about anything or everything. And why would anybody know anything and everything about the world that you have? One, because of the passage of time and people lose information. Civilizations vanish. All of the structures and everything they ever made disappear and are worn away by time. Just sheer bias within your world. Like, nobody really knows the exact truth because it depends on your relative perspective in many respects. Okay? So you don't need to know all of it as the dungeon master. All you need to do, and I've said this before and I've shown people, is grab a piece of paper, squiggle some lines on it, and then get started. And you're ready to go. And it's actually as simple as that. Now, I'm hoping that this was useful to you in some way. I'm going to thank my patrons and everybody who's been supporting me by watching my live streams and my videos. I really do appreciate it. It makes a big difference. What I would be very interested to know is, how are you doing in terms of your world building? You know, what strategies are you using? What have you found useful? What have you not found useful? Because everybody's different. And share that with me in the comments section. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Okay, I'm not gone. I'm going to shift over to my webcam. I'm going to go through the comments section very quickly, and then we're going to get started because I know people will say, Fred can't build a world. We can't build a world with Fred in the time we have. And I'm going to prove you wrong because I've done it before. We've been here before. You will have noticed that a lot of this material that I've covered today is come from a previous video that I did. What I have done is I've expanded it, and I've given you a lot more than I gave you before because I knew that people would ask, and I knew you would need additional tools, and I wanted you to have a bit more structure to things, so that's why I've done that this way. So let me just quickly have a drink of water, catch myself. So my suggestion to you is grab yourself a piece of paper, a pen or a pencil. We're going to jot some stuff down. Right now, I'll just remind you, Agile Monk. Oh my gosh. Agile Monk, thank you for the super chat, super sticker. I do appreciate $20 is a lot, man. You keep throwing a lot of money at me. So I can't. So Agile Monk is a patron, and really he's been very supportive of the stuff that I've been putting through. My ability to pronounce some of the names of government structures was appalling. I am aware. It threw me. It's not like I didn't practice. I did actually. So the best way to actually support me is on Patreon, because what happens on Patreon is everything we do here, I put into either a PDF that is just information and a resource, or if it's something that we make that I want you to be able to fiddle with, like what we're going to do today, then that world build and that world we're going to build, I want you to change it and make it your own. I will make that a Word document that you can edit. Okay, so it won't look fancy, but the intention behind it is to ensure that you can use it yourself and just get started. Like, that's what we're after. Okay. So Patreon is the best way to support me. Otherwise, super chats and super stickers are much appreciated. Thank you, Agile Monk. And I'm going to go through the chat. I'm going to look at the poll very quickly. Let's have a look here. Do you struggle creating your own roleplay worlds for a game? So we've got here 26% said yes. So not that many people. No, 26% as well. There are 19 votes. Sometimes 42%. Good. So it's not like it's a big part of the struggles we have. Good. I don't make worlds. So there's 5% of you who don't make anything, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So I want to go through the chat very quickly. And the reason being is that I want to just get on with stuff. I want to give myself plenty of time to get that all done. So Still Alive, hi. I said hi to Still Alive. Ugly Weirdo, hello, how are you? What is your all-time favorite world you either played or created? Well, my favorite world that my players created was actually Voltron, which is based off the name of a robot. Okay, and I would say my favorite pre-made world is still Dark Sun, but I have to accept that players don't necessarily like Dark Sun, which is fine. That's to be expected. They don't have to like what I like. That's all right. Agile Monk, you love world building. Now, it's a whole thing in itself. You may find yourself, and I've had this discussion with AJ Pickett, you might make a world and it never gets used. And in the process of making it was the fun part. It's just like players who make characters they never use, right? It's not actually uncommon. This does occur. Dartmain, how's it going? Like it would be. No, so we're not going to make it overwhelming because we're going to do it today. And it's not going to be overwhelming because you're going to do it with me. So don't need to worry about any of that because I don't do overwhelming. Well, I try not to. I try not to do overwhelming. Okay. That may not always be the case, but I try not to do overwhelming. Okay, so I've got my chat up here. I'll make sure that this is going and actually running properly, and it will do its thing. Need to be quick though. Many of today's modern new players are lazy and just want it all done for them. So look, I have come across players who hate it when the Dungeon Master doesn't have everything created for them. So this is one of those times where you just don't worry about that sort of thing. Like maybe they're not the people for you. Do you know? So, okay. You have so many books and you want to do... so yeah, you don't... Look, we're going to use 1 or 2 books. Probably 1 book will do most of the work for today. Jasper, how's it going, Jasper? Yeah, you just have to do it. Just do it. Don't sit back and wait. I've done this before where I've just drawn on a squiggly lines on a piece of paper, which I'm not going to do today because we're going to do the other stuff instead because it just comes off as being too much of a gimmick after a while, I feel. Okay. Dinomancer. Dinomancer is a patron, by the way, for those of you who don't know. Thank you, Dinomancer, for showing up. Theocracy. Yes, Theocracy. Let's have what? Vots. Ah, yes. I know what you're talking about. I believe it was Wally. I think Wally mentioned them to me, if I remember right. What about a periodic table of magic? Well, if you want a periodic table of magic, then make a periodic table of magic Still Alive. But don't let that stop you from getting started. Well, deja vu, I don't know. There are a lot of very low magic to no magic RPGs out there. Okay. What's that? I can't see this. AJ Big Spender. I'm not quite sure what that means.
I don't even know what that is. That a spelling error? I don't know. Okay, so I just want to move through this fairly quickly. So if I'm not reading out your comments, there's a good reason why. Okay, so don't feel like I'm ignoring you. I'm not, because we're going to get some stuff done. Matt, how's it going, Matt? Yes, I have certainly. You guys have told me. I keep getting told that my channel is good for if a new dungeon master, but no good if you're not. And if you're an intermediate to experienced, like, why would you bother watching me? So I understand. I got the message. So Dino, so the map, the map is easy to deal with. The map is easy to deal with. Okay, you take a piece of paper and you just draw on it, and it's done. So. Here we go. I didn't actually have a piece of paper. I wasn't planning to do this because it comes off as being kind of silly after a while. I've got this is a paper towel, okay? So I don't actually have a proper piece of paper. And so I'm just drawing some squiggly continents on it. Okay, I don't know if you can even see that. If you can see this, I'll be surprised. So I've just drawn the world. It doesn't need to be really fancy to start with. Like, all we need to do, now that we have those three little lumpy things, is create a name, right? And then once we've created the name, we're going to put name the continents. Name the continents, put the name on for the world. We're ready to go. So, I think we've done enough of fiddling around. We actually need to get to work because when I need to press the record button, start recording, I need to make sure I have my template up and ready to go. So this is grabbing the player's handbook for now. And we are going to be using the player's handbook quite a bit today, and we will also be using the Dungeon Master's Guide, so I'll make sure it's a bit closer to me. And we'll make sure we have, now I have my template all ready to go. So, if you're all ready, I'm all ready, we're ready to go. I can move over to my phone for the rest of this. So people, let's make this happen. Let's shift over to screen capture. Transition. Come on, baby, make it work. There we go. Let's make sure it catches up. We've got that going there, and I want this. Okay. Big deep breath. Breathe out, because it's now time to build a world. And you have to participate. I want you guys, guys and gals, you need to participate. You need to help me. Don't let me do it all. Okay? That's not fun. So, this is the world building template. World building template, people. That's right. And as I said, we have our world. You can see it here. I've put it on a piece of paper towel. It's not even a nice piece of paper. It's basically a paper towel, right? It's three lumps, three continents, nothing more, right? We have to give it a name. Now, I could come up with a name, or you could come up with a name. Like, come up with a name that would work for you. Now, the easiest way to deal with this aspect of this world creation thing is just to throw lots of names out there and then decide on which ones you like the most. And I'm going to add them to this list. So, we're going to go back here a bit. We're going to go down. We're going to underline this, bold it, and we're going to start typing some names in. World name. So here's the first thing I really want you to do. Just write down world name or world and just the word world or hashtag world and what it is. So if you have some if you have some comments that are sort of off topic that kind of get me lost,
I won't suddenly include them because I'm inclined to do that sort of thing. For those of you who haven't figured it out. World building. Here we go. Callus. Yeah, why not? I like it. Sounds good. So let's just put that as a number. So we're going to make up a big... now, if we get to more than 10, we're stopping for sure. I'm aiming for 5, but I don't know how fast your ideas will flow, right? Data main, you've got here. Octasia. Octasia? I kind of like Octasia. Octasia. So now that it's stopped, since the ideas, we only got 2 ideas, I'm going to have to start going through a book. I've got the player's handbook, people. It's nothing that fancy. I'm just going to turn to the back because there's actually a whole bunch of different worlds in there, right, that are pre-made. But we don't really want to use a pre-made world, do we? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those names and I'm going to modify them in some way, because that's what we do. When we want to actually create something new, we just modify what already exists. So, yes, gods of the multiverse and worlds. And there are various things here. Oh, we've got another one. Fat Monk. Thank you, Fat Monk. Can I just say I love playing monks? For those of you who are like, what the heck is he on? It's all right. I love monks. So we've got some names here. Kaz Rock. Oh god, they're all coming fast now. Spirit Wolf, welcome Spirit Wolf. Here we go. That's Berthine. Oh, is it Bertine? Bertine. I think that's right. Did I get it right? Did I spell it right? Koth. Matt, we're going to put more Koth down there. Don't you worry. Koth. I think we may have already hit our quota for names. And you could use all of them or none of them or one of them. What page are we turning to? Oh, so I'm currently on page 293 of the Player's Handbook. And as you just look through there, there's a whole lot of different worlds, pre-existing ones that Wizard of the Coast has made. You can take those and just reverse names, change them a little bit. If something that sort of pops up that you kind of like the sound of, then put that down, okay? That's where I am right now. Still alive, your world is Regina Bus. Okay, right, got it. If I spelled it wrong, pronounced it wrong, it's because I'm struggling with that today. Clearly. It's an I-B-U-S. If I spell the name of your world incorrectly, you will let me know. Deja Vu. Earth backwards. Nice. Okay, let's do that. H-T-R-A-E. Now, can I just say, or can we take this and we can call it this? Because this might actually work better. So I'm going to put the original one in that you suggested, which is great, Deja Vu. And we can take that name, and since the T and the R and the H together look a little bit weird, we can go like that. So we can call it this. It can be spelt that way, or we can go H. So it's hurrah. Hurrah. As in hurrah, hurrah. Next name. Who we got here? Spirit Wolf has got another one. Neshra. Neshra, that's what it is, Neshra. Okay, Spirit Wolf. It's fantasy, go with the feeling. Exactly. So we got to 8 names. I feel like we have named the world. So we are going to move on to our next major task. And I am going to make sure I highlight this so that I don't have to do a lot of work later on for patrons who want to say, don't know how to do it myself, Fred. It's too hard. It's going to take me too long. Can't be done in an hour. Oh, Still Alive has got another name. We'll add that in. L. So I'm still accepting names of worlds for now, but I will tell you when I'm not. Okay. Okay. So let's go here. That's going to be bold and underlined.
And we're going to create some races. So we're going to change the page. We are now moving on from where we were. We're now dealing with races. I'm in the player's handbook, right? And we turn to the front of the player's handbook. And you don't even have to go very far, any further than the table of contents. Okay, the table of contents of the player's handbook. There is, and you're going to pick 5 of these things. Pick out of these, okay? Or you can throw out the name of a race or a race that you can think of, and we will just add it in, okay? So I'm aiming for 5 maximum, because 5 is probably the most that the player characters are going to come across to begin with. They may meet more. We want them to meet more later on, but that's really up to you, okay? So we have dwarf, elf, halfling, human, dragonborn, gnome, half-elf. Yes, we're going to keep half-elf, people, okay? I'm all right with it if you're all right with it. Half-orc and tiefling. And anything else. So race, here we go. Is it Ettins? Ettins. Yes, I like the idea. Like, we're talking about a race of trees, basically, aren't we? Good. So you can use anything from the player's handbook or anything you can think of. So these are tree people. Tree humanoids. Humanoids. That's what you were trying to get at, weren't you? I believe that's your intention. Velocirex. I'm going to call you a Velocirex because it's going to be... I might probably just call you Rex. It's actually a lot easier for me. Considering I actually have to track a lot of stuff today. So let's go with that. And how are we doing for time? We're doing all right. We haven't run out of time at all. So we've got some more races. We've got Elf. Hello, Shina81. Welcome back. Welcome back to the fun. Elf. We've got to have Elf, don't we? Or you don't. It's up to you. It doesn't matter. Yes, tree people. That's the intention. Failing. Spirit wolf. You're actually going failing. Let's do that. Failing. So that's fey. I'm not going to say fey people. I'm going to say fey humanoid. That's, I'm assuming, what you wanted, right? Because there isn't a failing as far as I know in Dungeons and Dragons or other roleplay games. So what you're really basically saying is you're playing a fey. Correct? All right. I'll let you have a think about this while I have a drink of water. And then I will add something when I'm feeling like I'm watered enough. Oh, Deja Vu's got leprechauns, halflings and gnomes. Let's add them. I'm going to divide them. Halfling. Halflings. We know what they are. We know what gnomes are. Nobody said human. I'm so glad to hear that nobody said put down human. That means that currently in this world you couldn't play a human. Wouldn't that be funny? I know people that would hate that, but for me, I find that very appealing. Leprechauns. So, yes, thank you for that still alive. I'll add that in. Deja vu, leprechauns, leprechauns. Did I get it right? No. Corns. Got it. There's a lot of small people, a lot of little people in our world. Yes, there is. Are we finished with races? I'm going to add one in, people, because I want to. I like Dragonborn. So I'm adding Dragonborn to my list. Turtles, fine. If we get to 10, I stop. Okay? Because we only needed giants. We only really needed to have 5. Okay? Ratlings, got it. Now remember, this isn't the limit. This is just what you start with. Okay? That's why I say 5. The idea of 5 being there are 5 choices for the players to pick from. Okay, so here's our next thing. We're going to move on. We're going to do gods. We're shifting over to gods now, which means you need to be turning to the back of the book, Player's Handbook. You could turn to the Dungeon Master's Guide because there are gods in there, but I feel like the back of the Player's Handbook
is going to be more useful to you, and you're looking at pages 294 right through to, I think it's like forever. You can use existing ones. What we're looking for with regard to the name of a god is we need best to go say God or hashtag God. I need to know the name of the god. I need to know whether it's a god or goddess, or that doesn't matter. And then what it is a god of or goddess of. What is a deity of? So if we're talking about Thor, then Thor would be the god of thunder. Or something like that. So you're going to start filling out that aspect while I type this in, and then I am going to go to the toilet while you are filling in the gaps, people, because I need to take a break halfway through, otherwise I hurt myself. Now, we could be doing the world creation story first, but we're not going to worry about that. We're just not going to worry about it. We're going to do the world creation story. Don't you worry, we'll pick one. But we don't need to deal with that right now. So, gods. Hashtag gods. What they are a god of, where it's a god or a goddess, or that doesn't matter. Okay? And I'll take a 5-minute break, and I will be back. Alright. Oh, you guys have been working hard. I can see there's lots of stuff in here. So let's scroll back here. Still alive? What have we got here? Still alive, you have put down. Let's go with Discworld's world of a snow globe on top of 4 elephants on top of a giant turtle floating through space. That's the world creation story, isn't it? I'm going to put it down. Why? Because it's crazy. I like crazy, and but we are dealing with gods. So we've established the world creation story for some of this. So somebody's obviously been thinking very hard about this. So stick with gods. We're not doing the world creation story just yet. But since Still Alive is throwing that out there, we're sticking with gods for now. So type in those ideas. So let's go with snow globe. Oh god. On top of 4 elephants. Standing on a giant turtle floating through space. Through space. Oops. Oh, sorry about that. That's all in capitals and stuff. I'll just get rid of this. That's not what we want. We want that one. I don't want that one. I don't want that one. Okay. And I will just... remember, we're sticking with the worlds. Don't do world creation just yet, people. I'm just sticking this in just because somebody has mentioned it. And okay, right. So now worlds. Spirit Wolf. You have got here Shinji, goddess of pain and torture. Oh, Shinji sounds like trouble. Shinji, goddess of pain and torture. Did it again. Sorry, people. Let's just undo that bit and that bit and make sure I make it a number. Okay. Right. Moving my way through here. Let's have a look at what else we've got here amongst the ideas. Emilio. Emilio, I think that's what your name is. I apologize if I got it wrong. Definitely, if there's a turtle god, should maybe he's the dragonborn dragon turtle with the int. Sure. Well, we can have a turtle god. You guys are just going to come up with a name for a turtle god. Do I need to do all of that? I thought the idea is I would sit here, you guys do all the work, and I just write it all down. If I have to, I will. But I mean, okay. So here we go. We've got another one. Benyu, god of knowledge and singing. Sure. Sounds good to me. Whoops. Let's do that. God. Okay, corrected it. Comma. It'll be happier then. Okay, deja vu. You have a god. Here we go. We've got what's that? Is that two L's? It is. God, my eyes are terrible. They're getting so old. God of beggars, thieves, and lost souls. Good. Love it. Cool. Traveller. Home and heath. I don't know what that means. Traveller, home and heath. Yeah, you have to give me a bit more to deal with that. Soldiers and fortress walls security. I don't know what that's related to. Deja vu. What do you got here? Gods. The observant group of gods. Gods that track the good and the bad deeds of people. I don't know how that's related to what we're doing. So I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with that. Sorry. Okay, but Rex has got something. Enchidia, and Echinia, mother of monsters, Greek mythology. Okay. Yep. We can do that. We need a god of turtles, people. Oh, sorry, mother of monsters. How do I go mother of? That's not going to work. Can't be doing that. Stop that, Fred. Okay, mother of monsters. We almost got 5, and 5 is enough to start with as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, if you want that idea out there, I'm not putting down Bob. Bob is not going on. Everything will wind up being Bob. No, names are tough for me. I'd just roll on a letter, which of course is, you can do that. That's fine. Monger. What's that Monger? I don't know. What is that related to? What are we talking about here? A hearth is like a fireplace and stove combined. Yeah, but I mean, what is the hearth related to? I mean, whose name is it related to? I'm lost. God, portfolios. Right, okay, right. I'm taking control now. I'm putting down Roth, which is Thor spelt backwards. Okay. I'm going to make it a goddess just because I want to rub it in a little bit. Goddess of storms. I'll make it a dragon goddess. I look, at least I didn't write down Natalie Portman. Okay. Dear. And we're not including screaming goats. Okay, so now we need a god or goddess of turtles to make it all sort of fit. Since apparently we have a snow globe on top of 4 elephants standing on a giant turtle floating through space. Like, that's quite a bit. That's quite complicated. It's not the only creation story we can have, like, but we'll get to that later. Okay, here we go. We got another god. Okay, we can put that down. Hi, Mike. How's it? Welcome back, Mike. Guy RY. Gynatalex. Gosh. God, that's a handful. I'm going to struggle saying that thing. That's not one name that I would be very happy saying too often. But it's not for me, is it? Goddess of Justice. Oh, Justice, Mercy. Good. And Griffins. Really? Okay. Is this goddess a griffin? Or a sphinx? Like, you could have a sphinx be a god or goddess, right? You could do that. Okay, so that helps, Spirit Wolf. You've put it all together. It makes a lot more sense. Okay. So that is good. Grintalax. Grintalax. That's how it's supposed to be pronounced. Grintalax. Core blimey. All right. Glad it's the rest of you who have to figure out how to pronounce this stuff, not me. Is it cool? So that Monga Cole, god of soldiers' safety. I see. Okay. We still don't have our turtle god. So let's have a look at this player's handbook and see if there's something that takes my fancy that I can manipulate. Since I'm not that clever, it just seems like it sometimes. Okay, and we'll just go down here. What am I looking for? No. Going through the deities of the Forgotten Realms, you can see why I'm saying no. No. I don't like any of those names. I don't even want to turn them around or run them upside down or anything like that. So no, I'm not going to do any of that. So let's have a look at Greyhawk's deities. Don't like any of them. No. I'm into Dragonlance. Didn't like any of the Dragonlance stuff that much either. Don't mind the first books. The novels, great. The first ones. No. Nothing sort of stands out for me. Why is that? Let's have a look at the next one. Eberron. Is there anything that stands out for me? Yeah. Oh. Bold blue goddess of dreams. Okay, we'll add in. We have a goddess of turtles. Thank you very much. Agile Monk, you did very well. I wasn't doing too well at my end. Okay. Let's just press that button, and hopefully everything is still intact at your end and at my end. So let's get in Agile Monk's idea. Tarton. goddess of turtles. There we go. Very specific. Makes the world stand out. And then bold blue. Bold blue. Goddess. There's a lot of goddesses here, I feel, of dreams. And that's number 9. So we can have one more. Otherwise, I think we might just move on. I think we should just move on to creation stories. Now, do you remember that I mentioned the different types of creation stories that you can have? So like we can pick crazy elephant, giant turtle, snow globe thing going on here. But there are other types of creation stories we could have. Okay, so I'll add in that. So we're now on creation stories. So what we need is we need to know in a sentence or less, how the world was created. Okay, we know what the gods are that we currently know about, and the players will currently know about, and their characters. But in a sentence or less, how was the world created? So let's add in this last name. I already have an idea rummaging through my mind, by the way, people. So you're going to have to be quick, otherwise I'm just going to tack it in. Whether you like it or not. Goddess. The good thing is you can just change all of this. Of change. Right. Very nice. So I'm going to put down here that Lamenta. It's a Lamenta? I think it's Lamenta. And a blurb. Yeah, it's a blurb. We're doing a blurb for the world creation aspect of things. Okay? That's probably the best way to explain it. It's a blurb, but it's a sentence or less. So try not to get too complicated. Don't confuse me if you can help it. Okay? I'm easily confused. So Lamenta laid a I'm going to say, I don't want to say golden egg. A giant black egg that hatched into what I really want to I want it to hatch into something that laid. Oh, I've got laid wrong. Let's get that. That's that over there. That laid into it. Now, how would you go about creating creation stories? I actually remember I covered a whole bunch of different creation stories. You actually are quite familiar with a lot of them, people. So Lamenta laid a giant black egg that hatched into a dead. What would you call it? I don't know what I want to call it. It's on the tip of my tongue. Not a dead egg. No, we want to call it a dead something. But I'm just trying to think of a dead. Okay, I'm gonna have to come back to it. My next one, okay, is so we're gonna go back here. I'm going to call on the power of creation or world creation that New Zealand offers, the Maori in particular. And you remember I was talking about pulling the world out of a water source? We're going to do that. You, if you've watched Moana, and you're probably kind of guessing where we're going with this, okay? So I'm going to pick somebody who I think was probably most likely to have pulled it out of the water. So Roth, caught. So Hammer caught a giant fish and consumed it. consumed it, leaving the skeleton to form a fossil that becomes the world. Okay. So Roth caught a giant fish and consumed it, leaving the skeleton to form a fossil that becomes the world. One sentence. Okay. Garcia, what do you got here? It's just a turtle all the way down to the molecule. There's layers of turtles, giant dragon turtles, right? Layers of giant dragon turtles. I've been down this conversation before. I know where this is leading. Was formed from a mighty chip of the shell from the world turtle. Okay, we're gonna write. Well, that's good. We've got that. But I'm gonna put it down. I know you put JK as joke, but I'm still putting it. Tartuen. So world stories are much more difficult, but the best ones are the ones that you can tell and explain in one sentence. If it's going into more than one sentence, you probably know that you are out of your tree and nobody gives a shit. Okay? Sorry, people, but there are times when those of us who are dungeon masters like our stuff more than everybody else does. Like, if you can't tell a story in one sentence, there's probably something wrong with the story. The world turtle. I think that is definitely on my radar to keep. Spirit Wolf. Lamenta and Shino were both wanting to eat it and broke it in half. Okay, nice. So I just messed up? Was formed from a giant. Yeah, okay, we got that. That's it. There we go. That's sort of like the creation of the god, or goddess, rather than the creation of the world. Maybe you consider it the creation of the world. Yeah. Okay. So I want to type this one down. When we get to 5 of these, we're going to stop. Lamenta, and whoops. So Spirit Wolf, we are putting yours in. Shinji, so this is Lamenta and Shinji were both wanting to eat it and broke it in half. Yeah, okay. Wanting to eat. Eat what? What are they trying to eat? Eat it. I'm not sure what eat it is. And broke. Ah, the continents being separated. I see where you're going there. Now I understand. Broke. Okay. Try to eat. To eat. The world and broke it in half. Good. Nicely done. Okay, Mike, what do you got here? The world is the shell of vanquished enemies. The turtle, the demon turtle. Okay, good. Nice. Adding to number 2. So hang on. Spirit Wolf, your idea here adds to number 2. This one here goes to number 2. Sorry about that. So let's cut it, and it goes to number 2. Ah, the egg. I see. Well done. Nicely done. Laid a giant black egg that hatched, into a bird. Let's just make it a bird. We're both wanting to eat the bird. Actually, let's just put world. Into a living rock. Just call her a living rock. Easy enough. Okay, so thank you. I got it, Spirit Wolf. Thank you for adding to that. That's filled out that nicely. Okay, so where was I? We want Mike. We need to get your idea down, don't we? So once I get Mike's idea down, we are moving on. We're not doing non-player characters. We're doing locations, settlements, and cities. So you need to write down if it's just a landmark or a location. If you want to give it a little bit of information, I'm going to add the pink terraces because I love them. Settlements, cities, it might be a tomb. So if it's a tomb, then say it's a tomb. But that's what we're going to deal with next. I'm going to take this away. That is another lesson. Some of the day. We don't need to add it to this aspect of it. Okay? So remember, locations is what we're moving on to, people. Now, whether you realise it or not, we're very close to the end. I know you're thinking, nah, we can't be, but we are. We're really close to the end. It's not as far away as you might think at all. Okay, so I'm going to add in this one. Remember, locations. Is it a village? Is it a town? Is it a city? What is it called? Is it a tomb? Is it a mountain? Whatever. Okay, so now where was I? Mike, we need to get your one in. The world is the shell of Tartuen's. I believe, did I get it right? Did I spell that right? Tartans. It's A-R-U-E-N. U-E-N. Vanquished. Enemy. The demon turtle. Right, nicely done. Were there any others still alive? I think a common form of execution on the world of this world would be a simple toss them off the edge of the world. Just laugh out loud. Okay, that's the joke. Themes of the campaign and the world's legends and mythology, which is good. And the world blood falls. Now, Spirit Wolf, blood falls sounds like a location. We're dealing with it, right? You'll let me know if I'm wrong. If blood falls is not supposed to be related to a location, but that sounds like a waterfall. The world blood falls. I feel like that is a major world location. It's a landmark. We want something that's cool, right? I think that's what you're trying to drive at. You'll let me know if I got it wrong. World blood falls. Falls. It's a waterfall. So I'm assuming that this, yes, I'm putting that in Spirit Wolf. Okay, I'm putting that in. A waterfall that where the blood of dead gods flow. Oops, sorry about that. Is that what you were intending? I don't know if that was what you were intending, Spirit Wolf. You'll let me know if I got that back to front or wrong. Okay, and I will put a number on this. Don't freak out. We have still got plenty of time to get this done. So I'm going to say let's get 5 or 6 locations, and then we'll move on to the next thing, which is monsters. Okay, but we're writing down all of the different locations that you can think of. Now, when it comes to locations, the player's handbook's not the tool for you. You want to switch over, and you want to grab the Dungeon Master Guide. And in the back of the Dungeon Master Guide, you'll find a whole lot of stuff that sort of gives you ideas. In terms of the names of things, not necessarily, but the basic sort of concepts of locations are there. Remember, a lot of these locations will be based around our adventures, right? Tartuen Isle. Okay. It's a collection of small islands. Let's say a collection of small islands surrounded by dragon turtles. That's trouble. I don't know how else you could create trouble, Fred, but that will do it. Okay. Glacial City. Mike. Good one, Mike. Let us get this down. Remember, we need to have a place where they start off. It's always good to have at least one little town or village, okay, rather than a city. So if somebody can come up with a village or a town, that would be great. City. Multi-leveled metropolis carved inside an iceberg. Nice. Glacial City. I see where you're going with that. That's clever. And it's fun. Multi-level metropolis. Try to say focus. My eyes are going to go all funny on me. Metropolis carved inside an iceberg. Clever. Spirit Wolf. So I got it right. Yes. Okay. I'm all right with that. The world blood falls is what you're after. Good. Okay. Still alive. What do you got here? Dragon Ridge. Nice. Am I going to get my pink terraces in here? I don't know. Where a colossal dragon slumbers only to wake when the prophecy says. Okay. Okay. Lair of colossal. I'm assuming this is an ancient dragon. It sleeps. I'm going to put down prophecy beside it. That'll help you figure out. I mean, what the prophecy is not what we need to deal with. We're just dealing with the locations, people. We got a little bit of. So, the pink terraces. I'm putting mine in before anybody can get anything else in. Blue Bay Dreaming, answering to your questions. Location names. That's what we're doing, is location names. We need pink terraces. The pink terraces are a collection of pools of water along the side of a mountain that are pink. We need to add we created a town, didn't we? And that was Crockpot Creek. Whoops, got it wrong. Small town. And that's all we need to do is say small town. Now, Crockpot. There, I think that's Crockpot Creek. I added it. From the goddess, Blue Bay Dreaming, answering to your question. hopefully I got that right. That is pink. Okay, I think it's goddess. Okay, I think we've got that covered. Okay, so we've got our location. We've got 6 locations. So we've got lots of places. We've got a town. We've got a city. We've got some places they can go and explore. We don't need to have all of it, remember. And we've still got about just under 25 minutes. And we're going to get some monsters. All right, monsters. We don't need to have the lore behind them necessarily. Just give us the name of a monster. If it's a monster that isn't sort of something we can recognize, then what we'll do is I'll get you to sort of quickly describe it in less than a sentence. The Fiendish Jungle. Okay, Mike, we're going to add the Fiendish Jungle. Right, so we're doing monsters next, people. So word monster and what the name is going to help me a lot. Or at least hashtag monster and then what it is. So for that, grab get the monster manual. Like, just go through there, and what you're looking for monsters is you want one or two, can be as many as 2, but I would say one that's sort of the predominant monster. Like, is it goblins? Is it orcs? Is it kobolds? Or is it troglodytes that you're likely to include a lot in your world? Like, they sort of the dominant monster creature in there. And then anything else that we want, right? Monsters is easy. So let me just let you guys fire away ideas. I'm going to drink some water. And then I'm going to write in Mike's idea here. Because I like the idea. I think we should include it. The Fiendish Jungle. And this is impenetrable rainforest populated by poisonous monkeys and burrowing snakes. Good Lord. All right. Love it. So our list of monsters is going to get big very quick. I'm not going to have any trouble keeping up with that one, I think. Impenetrable rainforest. Populated. Whoops. By. He's been very specific. Poisonous monkey bites. What's worse? Being attacked by burrowing snakes or poisonous monkey bites? Like, pick one of them. Oh, you've got another one here. Shinji's Swamp of Pain. I will add that in as well. Shinji's Swamp of Pain. I think that tells you a lot, Spirit Wolf. For those of you who haven't figured it out, I think that says quite a lot. So we've got 8 locations. We did all right. Right, some monsters. Well, trolls. I might just go really quick here if I can. Goblins. Ogres. Cyclops. Do I need to divide this up a little bit? I think I will. I'm going to divide it up and put them into categories. So I'm going to go cut. This is no reflection on you in any way, and your idea is still alive. I'm just thinking that we need to have something that's quite common and something that isn't so common. And I'm assuming from this that we're trying to make orcs and goblins common. Which is fine. I'm going to add here troglodytes. Can I spell it? Troglodytes. Okay. And, get it right. Troglodytes. Here, I'll put them. Be less common. Let's keep going with the monsters. Hags, yes. Now, I guess the question is, do we have all the hags, or I'll just put hags. Flying snakes as well as burrowing. Right, okay, flying snakes. Flying snakes in Dungeons and Dragons 5e suck. Can I just say? Like, they're just not that great. Treant Roper. A Treant Roper? Well, I think we get the idea. You don't think you need to say very much. Treant. Treant. I believe that the two E's was not intended. Treant Roper. Is that what we're trying to do here? Roper. No, whoops. It's supposed to be 1P. Roper. That's a scary concept. I think it's quite clear what you're trying to communicate, though. Whoops. Meant to add quickling riders on snakes. Okay, quickling riders. Okay. Yes, I'll put that there. On flying snakes. Quickling. Did I get the quickling right? Let me see. Quick. I spelt it wrong. Quickling riders on giant snakes. On flying snakes, not giant snakes. The Banshee. Yep, we add the Banshee in there. Sure. Mike, Banshee's always nice. For DMs, but not for Dungeon Master. Well, not for players. Of course, that's if the whale works. All the gods and goddesses should have their own place on world. Yes, they should. Absolutely. The Phoenix. Absolutely. I agree. Phoenix. Phoenix. And as part of the Phoenix, I'm going to add the Sphinx. I'm going to dragons. I want dragons. Okay, so these are the monsters and creatures that they will encounter to begin with. We're going to get rid of treasures for now, because that's not so important. Okay, we will add them in adventures. So these are the monsters they will first encounter. We've got some low-level stuff, we've got some high-level stuff, we've got some wacky stuff in here as well, which is always nice. Now magic. We have to decide, is there magic in the world, and is it low or high level magic? That's the only question, gremlins. Okay, I'll add that. Let me just get the magic lined up. So we get magic lined up so that we are dealing with that. Now, if you hadn't noticed, we're actually pretty close to the end. And forget about that world threats, people. That was just a distraction. Don't you pay attention to that. Okay, so we are focusing on, is the world, is there magic in the world? If we do have magic, you can sum it up in a sentence, and I'll write it down. Is it low or high? I am of the opinion, I'm sick and tired of having a world where magic used to be really powerful, and now it's in its it's no longer in its heyday, and it's descending into obscurity. That is such a common thing to do with creating a world, which is fine if that's what you want to do. For me, I want to actually have a world where magic and the advancement of civilizations are at their peak. Like there's going to be different phases, of course, in any world, but I want something where there's some sort of peak going on, like the golden age of everything. That's what we want to aim for. That's my view, anyway. Which you, again, can ignore. Gremlins. I feel like gremlins need to go over here. I'm going to take them. I want them to make them a bit more common. So we're going to go here. I'm going to go cut. I want to make them a little bit more common. So you come across gremlins much more. Because gremlins steal your socks and your hankies and so forth. Okay. So we've got a bunch of monsters and creatures that we can add, but now we need to decide on our world. So I'm gonna write in golden age of magic, magic of high magic. I'm just gonna stick that. You don't need to agree with it. I just want that. I want high magic. That doesn't mean magic shops. We will answer that question now. Okay. Magic shops are not common. Okay. That's the answer to that question. When players always ask that question, it is such a common thing for them to ask. It's like, can we just go to the city and buy stuff at the magic shop? Like, so if there's anything you want to add to magic, let me know and I'll add it in. I've just put that in because I feel like the golden age of high magic is always much more fun than the descending out of obscurity. A floating anti-gravity city, gamma world, right? A gamma world. Let's add that. So that's going into magic. Yeah, let's radiation. Yeah, gamma world. Full of radiation. Did I get that? I think we got that. Gamma world full of radiation. Floating anti-gravity cities. I feel like that is under technology. So we were moving on to technology anyway. So we're going to do that. That was your intention, Spirit Wolf. You let me know because I want to move. I really do want to start picking up and doing technology. Now I covered lots of different types of technology. You can provide examples of that technology and how it's applied in our world by all means. So hashtag technology or just the word technology and what sort of technology we're dealing with. Okay, remember we have wind, we have steam, we have burning fossil fuels, we have energy from the sun, we have radiation, there's lots, like heck. We could even power something on seawater if we really wanted to. So this is going there. Okay. It doesn't need to be high tech. It could be low tech. It could be just different tech. You know, I mean, sometimes it's nice to include something that has technology, but it's so different to the technology that we're used to. Do you know what I mean? Clerical magic requires singing. Okay, let's do that. Let's put that into magic. I like that. It's kind of funny. I like it, Mike. Fun. Very, very fun. Clerical. Did I get it right? Clerical magic requires singing. Okay. So technology, you were going for high tech. Spirit Wolf. So if we're going high tech technology, we could go well beyond the technology that we currently use. We could go really, really advanced, which means even beyond the concept of using the atomic atom. Like, that's the kind of technology we could be talking about. So let's do this. Technology. Remember, our technology needs to have magic and technology needs to be able to exist in the same world in some way. Otherwise, bit of a problem. So, farmer robot field of seaweed. Oh, I like it. Fields of seaweed. That's quite cool, I have to say. Let's just do this seaweed. Spirit Wolf's got a good idea. So like a Tetris 100. I think if I got your name wrong, I do apologize. What do you got here? Frequency-based magic with antennae. Okay. Ah, okay, that's going into the magic area. Okay, I'll move it in a second. Paste. is that I feel like that's going into, you are trying to integrate magic and technology together with this. So it is actually in the right place. I think that's what you're trying to do. 10 is. Okay, good. Maybe the turtle goddess grants great strength as a common boon. Okay, transportation booths. Let's do that. Transportation booths, teleport. Teleportation, that's what we're dealing with here. Energy to run mechanical devices powered by seawater and magic together. So there's a bit going on here. We have included a whole bunch of stuff, some different ideas. This doesn't need to be the limitations on the type of technology we include in the world. Technology might be different in different parts of the world. It's another thing to consider. You know, I'm not too sure what to do with that, Garcia. It's a common boon. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're trying to go magic. Okay. I believe that's what you are heading for. Floating flower fields with robots and people in anti-gravity and anti-gravity work cylinders. Interesting. That's very, very interesting. I like that a lot. Let's put that down. Now, last few minutes. We have 6 ideas in terms of technology. So I'm going to make this go up. Government. Now we might have one government type. We might have multiple government types. That's up to you. Okay. But we're going to start talking about government. Flying gremlins, eating flowers, etc. There. I think that's supposed to go under monsters. I'll put that in though. Remember government. So what sort of government? The best thing you can do is put in some really horrible types of government. Now you can give it a name, the type of government it is, and the name of that government or body or whatever it is, the nation that it's going to be connected to. But we want something that's really vile for our player characters to have to fight against. This is one of the great things I feel about Dungeons & Dragons is it gives us the opportunity to fight the establishments that we hate so much, or the aspects of a establishment that we hate so much. Okay? Gremlins that eat flowers. Right, so back to where I was just finishing off with, we're going into government now. So name of a government body or nation and what sort of government it is. And we only need to have a handful. It doesn't need to be that much. The AI hive mind. The artificial intelligence hive mind. That actually tells you everything, and that's, doesn't it? Nice one. You did a really good job there. I'm impressed. That really does stand out. Warbots and weapons strength is up to you. Warbots. Well, we'll just put the warbots in here. That's technology, isn't it? We're adding it to technology. I think that's what you were trying to do here. Remember, we're moving on to government. I am just typing in the last ideas that people had presented for technology. We're now going into government. Remember, there are only a couple of them. The best place to look for the concepts of government is now in the Dungeon Master Guide. Okay, there is actually a section on different types of government, and if I can, it's under world building, environments. It'll be under, build your own world, factions, organizations. I think it's 18. Is it 18 or 19? It can't be very far through here. I'm pretty sure if I can find the that page, I will. Oh, it's going to take me too long. You can figure it out. Hackers. All right, so we're now putting in hackers. That seems like, hackers, I see, that's technology, hackers. Technologies, but you're actually talking about government. I think that's what you're saying. Hackers. I'm not putting that in. Yeah. Sorry, Spirit Wolf. That's not going. Whatever wizards would make those, there's Trent Ropers have a good under. Dear, you're a funny one. Okay, so let's just make sure I get that last bit of technology that somebody had mentioned, because that's actually that's in terms of a concept and what you would see, it's really sort of stands out as fantasy, doesn't it? Fields with robots and people in anti-gravity work cylinders. I think that's what we're... Right, so our last little run towards government, or different types of factions, because really what we're talking about is factions and government, right? Hackers are anarchists. Okay. Yep. Knowledge should be free. Tech or monster. Not really sure what we're trying to do there. And I can't open up in the right page, unfortunately, because I don't have everything in front of me. Freedom fighters, yes, let's do that. We need to have something fine. So, tech or monsters. I think that's what you're trying to say here, Spirit. Freedom fighters. Tech or monsters. Is that what you're trying to say? Is that what we're talking about here? Tech or monsters. The Radio Guild. The Radio Guild. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing with tech or monsters here. I'm not feeling it. I'm putting it here. I just don't know what we're trying to do with that. Does that make sense? Is it clear? I'm a little confused by that bit. So it has taken us just over an hour, and we've pretty much got most of what we needed. I mean, it's a few pages worth of stuff, and it reads and looks like a list. But essentially, that's what world building is it tends to be a list. And then you build out from there. Okay, right, so dictatorship, it's just not coming to me, so I'm going to leave that as a question mark for now. I will probably fill that in a little bit later on. Is there anything else I needed to make sure that I put a question mark beside that I didn't finish off? No, actually everything is mostly done. I actually feel like we've covered pretty much everything. We've got lots of names of worlds, races, we've got gods, we've got the world creation stories, we've got locations, we've got monsters we want to start off with, magic, technology, we've got some really cool ideas here, and we've got some faction names. Here we go. Coalition of cyborgs, or coalition of constructs. It's very Cylon. Coalition of cyborgs or constructs. Because we might be wanting to use the word constructs rather than cyborgs for our world. But, you know, remember, this world is high technology and high magic, so there's an awful lot going on here. It would be perfectly fine to use coalition of cyborgs rather than coalition of constructs. I feel like we've done it. I don't know about you, but I think like we have nailed down the bits and pieces that we really need, and we did it in about an hour. Warbots are tech or monsters. Okay, Warbot. I see. This is actually supposed to be here. This is a faction name, basically. Government and factions. Good. I think I've got what you were. If I got it wrong, I do apologise. But in any case, I think we have nailed down what we needed to get done in the limited time we had. Well done. Well done, everybody. As I said, it can be done. Like, yeah, no, it can't be done. Yes, it can. Yeah, it can be done. And we did it because we just spent a whole bunch of time rattling through all the different things that we could do. And that's exactly what has happened. We wound up with a product at the end that gives us a good place to start with. And for those of you who are like, I need 6 months, 8 months to create my world. No, you don't. Rubbish. Just draw something on a piece of paper and just get started and just start making stuff up as you go and let the players help you along the way, because that's what they're there for. Yeah, they really are. They are there to help you, not just to create problems for you. I'm hoping this was super fun for you and useful, and if it was, great. If you have any additional ideas you would like to add or talk about in the comments with regard to how you create worlds yourself, please let me know. I want to thank my patrons, everybody who's been watching my live streams and my videos. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you to Agile Monk for the super chat, $20. It's great to get that. You've been giving me a lot of money recently, and I feel really guilty at times. But I am trying very hard to give you everything that you need to run your games and be super successful and feel much more comfortable in the whole process of creating stuff. That's the aim, okay? So thank you very much. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.